Escape to the metaverse, better act like you know. Yeah, you are now tuned into the Matthew Rizzle show. Yeah, escape to the metaverse, better act like you know. Yeah, you are now tuned into the Matthew Rizzle show. Yeah, escape to the metaverse, better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew Rizzle show. Yeah, escape to the metaverse, better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew Rizzle show. Yeah.
Hey everyone, before we begin this week's episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Okay, Micol from VerticalCrypto Art. Welcome to the Matthew and Rizzle Show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Very excited about this.
And like we mentioned before we started recording, this has been a long time coming. You're someone that we've known for a minute. You've been on the whip. There's been involvement on the rest in peace, now defunct Metacast front. So many instances where we've just crossed paths. So I'm really excited to deep dive into your past and your present, especially, which is super interesting. But before we get started, I'm just wondering if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you originally into the crypto and NFT space before starting VerticalCrypto Art.
Yeah, of course. First of all, I'm so glad we did this. Like, I remember listening to the Matthew and Rizzle show a while back, like before, almost like 2 years ago when I kind of started getting into the space and seeing you guys like record with all of these like different guests. So I'm so excited to be on. It's an honor. But yeah, I guess I'll introduce myself. So my name is Micol. I founded VerticalCrypto Art back in June of 2020. So yeah, coming up to almost 2 years ago, actually, pretty soon, which is wild to think about it. And before, I guess, my falling into the big rabbit hole of crypto and NFTs, mostly crypto art, to be honest, I was actually a corporate baby. So I used to work for Facebook and Instagram, now called Meta, for like 4.5 years. And before that, I was working in an ad agency. Before that, I was working for IBM. So kind of like always in between tech, like that kind of like mix of like tech and like creativity. Because even when I was working for Instagram and Facebook, I was working for creators, especially on Instagram. So like always in that kind of like midline of like, how do tech and creators, tech and creativity kind of like intertwine? And funny, like, to be honest, like the way I got into, I would probably say like crypto art, it wasn't through crypto at all, which is sometimes kind of like the natural way that you discover NFTs. For me, it was really art led. I know it may sound cheesy, but actually it's the truth. So I was introduced to the concept of like blockchain based art and crypto art by a friend of mine who was a very early artist on Super Rare. And he was always kind of like in the outskirts of the art world. I live in London, but I'm originally Italian. And basically he lived in London as well for a while and was always like at that kind of like intersection of never really making it into the art world, but like being around the outskirts, especially within like street art, like conceptual art, pop-up, like small pop-up exhibitions, like very hipster style. In London, it's kind of a big thing, especially around like East London for like young people to kind of like, bounce off these like pop-up like exhibitions, and you just hang around there. And so that's like always been kind of like where I've roamed around and where I've lived for the past like 10 years that I've been in London. And yeah, basically like he was like, this is like such a cool space, you need to look into it. And this was like early 2020s. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And also I'm not very like interested. Like I knew about crypto, but I was like, no, this is too complicated. Like he was talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum and getting the wallet and opening a Coinbase. And I was like, wow, that looks so complicated. So
which artist was this, by the way?
Huh?
Which artist was this, by the way? I'm like imagining Sky Golpe or something. You can't say. Wow.
I can't say. It's the a plot secret. Thickens. Okay. And basically like, yeah, I was like, no, this is too complicated, whatever. And ignored up until like March when, he was like, this is really cool. Like, you're bored of your work. You're not happy there. I really see this as like a place where you, I think, can like flourish. You've always been into art. Like, I think this is like, it's really like at the cutting edge of like things that you're really interested about. So I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And I opened an anon, like, basically like an anonymous kind of like Twitter profile, because he was like, the first thing you need to do is open a Twitter account, and gave me like loads of like profiles to follow, which probably you guys, first of all. And then like, you're Jimmy, you're Nate, you're like Andrew Stainold, Hackatat, like the big kind of like early artists on Super Art, but also like the big names that have kind of shaped the space. And yeah, like for the first couple of like months, what I was doing was kind of like reading and exploring crypto Twitter, which was pretty easy to explore, to be honest, because it was like, I don't know, 100, 200 people. So I felt like I could like stay on top of things, and kind of like, explore things like pretty easily. And from there, like I opened a Coinbase, I bought my first ETH and Bitcoin and like a few other altcoins. And it was in June, or kind of like May, June, when I was like, I feel like there's a big opportunity for like a place and a space to actually like story tell a lot of what is happening, and like, who are these artists, where do they come from, like what are their stories, how did they arrive to this space, like what made them come to a space where like nobody really considers art, but actually they're making like really cool artworks and pieces. And that's kind of like how I started off vertical crypto art. Like I was just like, I think this could be a thing, not like a thing like it is now. Like I had no idea that it was going to be like my job. I had it as like a side thing, like something that you do on spare time. And yeah, like it kind of grew from there. So before it was just me for like a good, let's say 4 or 5 months, it was pretty much me, like, chatting and like doing videos. I still remember the first video that I did was like on the top of my bedroom, like with the selfie camera on my iPhone, being like, hey, like, this is Micol, I'm the face behind like vertical crypto art. And at that time it was like wild, because nobody had a face. Like everybody was like, nobody would put a face behind the Twitter, or like very few people. And so like I remember like people commenting and were like, oh my God, like this is like a real person, and she's a woman, which is like even more weird. And from then on, like, we grew, and now we're like almost 6 people, I think, working kind of like on and off, but 2 full-time, me and my, let's say, partner, and then a few people part-time as well.
Dude, it's crazy seeing like your whole thing explode. Micol, I'm like such a huge fan of yours, and we've done like, Twitter Spaces and like a million things together. At this point, I've like dubbed myself the unofficial mascot. I like self-appointed myself as your mascot a couple of days ago. What you do is like so important to the space. I mean, I think anyone who's been like following along like knows that, but it's fascinating hearing your background, because I wasn't really familiar with your background. It just like never really came up too much. And like the way that you came into the space, because I honestly like consider you to be like one of the great like thinkers of the space and about Web3 and decentralization, and that's clearly not like how you came into this space, but I mean the way you've approached the art residency is very, very much in that spirit, and I feel like especially this past year is just like so crazy, and it almost feels like sometimes you can count on one hand like the people out there who like really get it or like understand like the wide implications of the directions of where this is headed. And I know that's exaggeration, there's more than on one hand, but can you speak to that? Like, clearly it's, I mean, I totally respect it being art first, but you also have like a very firm grasp on like everything going on under the hood as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, as you go deep into the rabbit hole of like the concept of like blockchain and like the infrastructure and the technology, like the way that I have approached my journey into the space has always been with the idea of learning from others. And like all of the kind of like the Twitter spaces, but even before Twitter spaces, like the live streams that I did with the artists, like the conversation, the series of like talks that I did with like Nate Alex on like on-chain, like what does it mean for like artworks or anything like NFTs to be on chain or semi-chain or not fully on chain, has always been to learn and like to allow myself to learn, but also like in the process allow others to learn as well. And I think like that's been how, I don't know, I feel like people appreciated that because it's always been like very organic, like everything I have done, I think, with Vertical Crypto Art has always been led by interest, like actual interest, like actual pure interest, which is either for myself, like usually it's been for myself. I guess it's like pretty centralized in that way. But now obviously like as I'm getting like other people in the team, it's like interest for also like other people or like feedback from like our community of like artists on what they would like to see or what they would like to know about. So it's just like, like genuine kind of like content, or not even content, just like genuine knowledge sharing, I think. And in the process, I've obviously learned a ton and became very passionate about like certain visions, ethos, and the general kind of like mission promise that blockchain can bring and is bringing in some shape or form. And yeah, I think that's kind of like been the way that, we've tried to lead things and showcase things at Vertical Crypto Art with the art residency, with the conversations that we've hosted. And yeah, with many of the things that we, even like if I think about like the projects that I've supported or kind of like worked with, even on a like consultancy basis, it's always been stuff that I firmly believe in. And I guess like it's a bit of a, it's like it's a two-way thing, right? Like, okay, so for example, when I speak to my mom, she's like, yeah, but you have certain things, like you have to do them because of the brand or because of like money. And it's like, I just can't do it. Like, it's just something that I cannot do. And maybe it's like, something that will come and bite me in the ass. I don't know. But
what are some examples of some of the more traditional things, quote unquote, that maybe your mom is asking or saying that you should do? I'm curious about that.
Like, I don't know, for example, some brands that have like approached us and asked like, okay, like, could you find us like an artist, like to do an NFT? And it's like, would you like pay for the artist? Would you like quote them? Would they get the royalties? Would they be a part of your like NFT drop with them? Or you're just trying to like get somebody to do the artwork for you and then kind of like not consider them? And like things like this, like, it's just things that I don't believe in. Like that's not why the blockchain exists. Like the blockchain exists and crypto art exists because of the vision to allow artists to be able to take revenue from their work, take credit from their work, and have royalties on chain. If not, like, we're just going to be going back to the same old kind of structures and models that were in place previously. And, these sort of things, like, I will not bow down to. And actually, like, I make it a big deal, even with the artists that we work with, to make sure that they empower themselves to think that way. Because I think, thanks to people like Sparrow and Matt Kane and, the Dada crew, like, these royalties, these concepts, this mentality was pushed through and was adopted for all of the artists that came after. And so we cannot allow that to go back to where it started. And I think if we don't, like, if people who are at the leading side, which could be myself and many others as well, do not empower artists and creators and anyone really to think that way, then we're doing it wrong.
100%. And I do have to say, like, your originary interest that sort of like directed your journey into what vertical crypto art has become has been so palpable along the way and so inspiring. I loved the older interviews with the artists. I mean, for a long time, I felt like, man, it's just like myself and maybe Ikaitza that have been like spotlighting some of these amazing artists that are in the space, right? So when you came on, I'm like, oh my God, finally, yes, others get it with Rizzle, myself, and Ikaitza. Oh my God, yeah. And to see this grow and blossom into the business that it's become has just been incredible. So I'm sort of curious, now that you have like a team of 6, like, and it is quote unquote more of a business, like you're relying on it, like, what is the mission of vertical crypto art today? And I know it's largely focused on empowering artists, still an extension of what you were originally doing, like with the residency and whatnot. But I'm also curious about like what the mid to long term holds for vertical crypto art.
Yeah, this is actually a very interesting and, like, let's say, timely question, because it's something that I have been thinking about a lot, especially coming up to, this, like, the new year, and wanting to grow a little bit more, because obviously, like, we have, it's me and another person, like, full time, and then we have like people that are part time helping us. And actually, like, the way that we see vertical crypto art moving forward and the mission for it is really to keep elevating creators and artists, whether it's through some sort of like representation, as well as like acting as a real kind of like leading curatorial studio for Web3 digital art, new media, and crypto art. And with that, I mean, allowing and producing like exhibitions, curating work for like other projects, such as, for example, like partnering with Tezos in, Art Basel and the various kind of like more traditional art fairs, and keep kind of being a bridge between the traditional art world and the digital, more like crypto art native world. Not in a way that it's like we want to bring the traditional artists in. I mean, great. I think that will happen anyways, but more in like, how can we empower crypto artists and natively digital artists to be part of the traditional art world and the contemporary art world, and allow for that, exchange to happen, and really showcase like NFT art as, fine art, contemporary art, modern art. Like I always kind of like disagree with the term like NFT art, because I think it's not really a category. Like, I think artists, NFT art is not really a thing. It's actually like there's many different iterations of what we see as like art on the blockchain, which can not only solely be defined as NFT art. So I think that's like where we're moving into more. And on the flip side, we obviously have a residency that we run, and actually we will be, let's say, formally splitting the two. Haven't really fully like announced it, but I guess by the time this will be out, it will be announced. So we're going to be splitting the two, and Vertical Crypto Art Residency will effectively be its own entity within the Vertical Crypto Art umbrella, but it will be formally a foundation and therefore not for profit. And we will keep running these educational programs, residencies, and workshops to keep empowering emerging talent and emerging creators around the world on metaverse native Web3 topics.
Damn. Yo, congratulations. That's incredible. I can't think of like anyone better to be, at the forefront of this than yourself, like leading that whole foundation and everything. So that's like fantastic news, like not only for you, but like I feel like everyone benefits from this, right? Micol, so you've been at this, you're saying coming up on 2 years now, like you zoom out, I feel like if the mission is to empower these artists, bring them, recognize their art as like a, more mainstream, like accepted, like form of art. I feel like, seems like we're making progress in that direction. Like, now you got a team of 6, you're like starting a foundation and everything. So like, it seems like, I guess that I would assume over the last couple of years, progress is being made. What do you see like at this point in time as like the barriers to continuing to move in this direction? Do you feel like, the dominoes are starting to fall and we just need to sort of like keep pushing? Or, what do you see as like the biggest challenges to sort of like, achieving the mission of Vertical Crypto?
Human resources, definitely. And it's something that I've been human resources and capital. I think it's 2 ways. So I've always been, let's say, a bit like, not reluctant, but kind of like taking things like, okay, sorry, stepping back. So I think like the crypto NFT space moves so quickly that like I've seen a lot of projects, entities, companies, startups, etc., go from like 0 to 100 in literally like 6 months, which is great. The way that I have approached things has been obviously like moving really fast as well, but also like moving really slowly at the same time, if that makes sense. Like moving fast, thinking fast, moving slowly, let's say, if that kind of works. And I sort of like avoided the idea of like raising capital for a long time, simply because I didn't feel like it was the right time. I didn't want people to like kind of be part of the mission building of Vertical Crypto Art. I wanted it to be as organic and as natural as everything that has happened with Vertical Crypto Art. And in this precise moment in time, I feel like this mission and this vision is very clear in my head, very clear in, the people that have kind of like worked or supported us as well. And the next phase of this is aligning ourselves with potential partners and potential like investors who believe in the same mission of us, who have been part of this journey with us in different shapes and forms, and who can help us scale what we're doing and essentially like get human resources and people to be able to work with us to make this a reality. Because that's like the biggest kind of like hurdle at the moment. Like, even though we do have people that work with us, it's pretty much still all on me to do like a lot of things, whether it's like sometimes like writing articles, whether it's like, posting on Instagram, on Twitter, on like, hosting the Twitter spaces, but then also like doing these like strategy meetings, but then also like going to events. And I'm not going to lie, like it is a lot. And sometimes that kind of stops me and Vertical Crypto Art from doing more of how much I cannot take anymore, if that makes sense. So I think the next step is really trying to align with investors and like people that believe in us as a business and what we're doing and the mission that we firmly believe in, and taking this to the next level.
So, I mean, along that way, first of all, we need to get you some interns. It sounds like, come on, interns of the world, like hit up Micol, help her out. But when you do have more resources, I mean, like what would the number 1, 2, and 3 hires be on that front as you grow and scale this? Because I mean, I think Rizzle and we can sympathize with your position of doing all the things all the time. And it is something that it can get exhausting 100%, even though like everything that you're doing and we're doing in this space is so inspiring and like energizing at the same time. Still, it's something you can't do forever. So like 1, 2, and 3 hires, like who would you scoop up if you could keep building out the team, like who would the dream team be?
So for sure, marketing, like a head of marketing, or like somebody that is like a marketing wizard. So as much as like, I think I am very, can do things. I've been told I'm not very good at marketing myself, or like promoting myself or what we're doing. And like all that side of things, we just need to get so much better at it. Social media for sure, again. And also like tech stack. Like obviously we have just like 2 part-time developers that work with us. We have an auction platform that we have built, but I think would definitely need more work, more maintenance. We want to scale that too as part of VerticalCrypto Art, and really like enable it to be used as a white label for different like projects, different artists, to have like ongoing auctions on there as well. And so we definitely need some more people working on the dev front.
Do you sort of like see yourself in uncharted territory? Like I really can't think of like anyone in this space who's doing something like exactly along the same lines of what you're doing. Are there like other projects or like people in the space who are doing like adjacent things, or outside of the space for that matter, that you've like sort of looked to for, either like inspiration or to like sort of model how you're building this thing out? Or is it just sort of been like pretty organic, like, as things have grown, you've just, been able to identify the needs and, just keep filling those and being able to expand type of thing?
It's a good question. I was actually asked today, like, hey, like, who do you think are like the agencies like working like native Web3 agencies? And I was like, think, couldn't think of anyone. And I guess like that's why, there are a few maybe, but I've kind of like taken inspiration from, not in like a bad way. I think like I've been inspired by people and projects, and for example, like someone that is a big inspiration to me, I think it's not a like a secret, or I never hide it, is Museum of Crypto Art and what they're doing. We have very aligned ethos and values, especially within the area of crypto art. And we've, worked together in many different shapes and forms, and are just like good friends. And I think I have been kind of like conceptually inspired by them, I think, in like the way that I've built VerticalCrypto Art. And so for sure, it's been like an ethos inspiration and a mission like inspiration. When it comes to like specific, for example, like to the residency itself, there's really nobody that is doing what we're doing with the residency. But I hope there will be more. Like, I think it's such a needed concept, like the idea of like giving free education programs to artists around the world, teaching them and onboarding them into blockchain and NFT technology is so fundamental for, I think, healthy growth of this ecosystem. And so I really do hope that we can inspire others to do this type of thing, or like even better type of like programs. So on that front, I haven't really seen anything yet. On like the more curatorial front, obviously, like I think Universe Contemporary, Lady Phoenix, what they've been doing for a long time has been great, and something that I've looked up to, especially when I first started looking into the space. They have been pioneers in a lot of what we are in some shape or form doing as well. I think like, again, it's been very organically led. So for example, like I'll give you a practical example. The reason why I started doing the residency was because I started getting so many requests and just like messages from artists being like, hey, could I book like a one-to-one with you and like talk about like how could I like adopt this like technology, or how do you think I should best promote myself, or how do you think I can grow within like the metaverse, like Web3 space? Honestly, like it was like around May or June, kind of when the boom happened. And I was like, wow, like this is such a great opportunity for like us to maybe shape up a workshop, a program of some sorts that can actually onboard artists and allow for a more scalable solution. Because obviously I wouldn't be able to do one-to-ones with every single person that kind of DMs me on Twitter. So why not scale it and allow for more people to access like free educational resources? And by the way, like all of the classes that we do are available to anyone over the internet, like anyone. You don't have to be part of the residency. You can just hop on our website and literally listen to over like, I think 10 hours of classes by whoever, like from Art Gnome to Judy and Bea from Dada, from like Raphael, who's teaching creative coding, from Untitled XYZ, who's teaching metaverse architecture, like anything really. And so I thought, again, that was like very organically led. It just kind of happened. And then I was like, okay, maybe we can do this. And we tested it out. It worked. And now it's going. And similarly, like it's been kind of like what we've been doing with everything, really. Some things we kept on going, some things we stopped, some things we might restart. Yeah. I don't know. It's not very like structured in a way, the decisions that we make. That's probably why I probably need like a marketing person to like put me in line. But it's been fun to do it this way so far.
Well, it's been super organic, and it's been beautiful to see what you've been able to grow until now. And I think at every point of development, once you pass a certain phase, like you need like a certain amount of pruning could help with future direction and organic growth in that way. And I was just sort of thinking back when you're talking about like folks who are doing what you're doing on an agency level. And it's like, honestly, like what you said, like Mocha's not an agency, but they're definitely adjacent and like mission aligned. Universe Contemporary Lady Phoenix, big shout out there, is doing crazy work. But then like I'm thinking about like Roger Dickerman originally. I know he felt very adjacent to you. He's doubling down on like the tech side of things, but like still very of the artist for the artist. So I think he's doing very cool things similarly. And then there's like the Serena Tabachi's, Eleonora Beatsy's, Sam Brockman's of the space. And then like other agencies sort of popping up, advising like V Gallery. Like there's definitely a number of folks doing similar things, but I do love the direction you've taken the education, the residency. So like I was saying, the next area I really want to deep dive into, and you've sort of done a great job already elaborating on the bits and pieces that comprise it, is the residency program. Just curious if we can go back like to the genesis of this and take us through the cohorts, future cohorts, what exactly being a participant in this residency program entails. I'm super keen to hear all those details.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to, I guess, like I touched a little bit on how it started. I think whilst the big kind of like NFT mania started after the Beeple sale and a lot of artists like coming into the space around March, April, May of last year, so 2021. I still get confused that it's 2022, but yeah, 2021. Basically, I started getting a lot of like requests of one-to-ones, of conversations, of artists like reaching out, asking for help on like how to approach the NFT space, how to promote their work, how to be seen, how to like build a metaverse space in one of these different like metaverse worlds, whether it's Somnium, whether it's Arium, whether it's like crypto voxels, etc. And so as much as I obviously like, you know, I dedicate my day and my everything to like talking to artists, it was actually like impossible for me to talk to everybody who kind of like interacted and engaged. And so I thought, why not try and spin up a sort of an experiment, really, it started, of a online crypto art native residency, which goes to touch on all of the metaverse native topics, which are not like your traditional kind of like art residency topics. So the residency doesn't look at, you know, the history of art or how to be part of a gallery or that kind of thing, but it touches on a curriculum that is super focused on like NFTs, Web3, and crypto art. So from like the history of crypto art with Art Gnome and actually Martin MLO.art, who I think you had him on one of the recent podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any dude who you want for history, it's that dude.
Exactly. Yeah, he's great. And then we touch on we go into like the crypto art market overview. So what are the marketplaces, how to approach the crypto art market, what you should be considerate of depending on the different like marketplaces and things you want to achieve as well. And with that, we usually have Fanny Lakubai, who like big shout out. She is a great crypto art OG as well. Then we have like creative coding and generative art. We then have safety and security. So we provide all of our residents with a Ledger wallet to secure their digital assets, which is super important. Architecture in the metaverse with Untitled XYZ. We then have marketing and promotion with different folks. Usually it's been like Esme from Super Rare and a few others. We also have like art curation and storytelling, but more from like a native, let's say, NFT side. VR and AR, DAOs, kind of that, but then there's like more as well. So like, for example, this time we also had like crypto art critiques. So like the residents would basically gather, show their work, and then they would like, obviously in a very kind way, critique each other, which really like helped them, grow or like learn things that they didn't know before, or like understand how to like take feedback or engage in feedback. So yeah, like it's really varied. We have over like 20 to 25 mentors that teach these classes. And the cohorts, we've had 2 so far of 20 artists each. The last one just finished last week, and we're going to have the new one starting at the, let's say like start of February, around 10th, I think we'll start the new cohort. This time we also had, this cohort, we also had, a shout out to, Bomani and Jason Dukes, who Rizzle introduced me to, that they taught the artists about crypto and DeFi. So like more kind of like, let's say, financial aspects of the NFT space, which are super important to know for artists in general. So yeah, like really varied topics. And in a way, it is a very decentralized way that we lead this residency, because this is the curriculum. But like, if any of the mentors comes and says like, hey, I'd like to talk about like AI, or I'd like to talk about using like Touch Designer, or I'd like to talk about how to get into like galleries as an NFT artist, like I'm super open to it. It's like, if you want to contribute, great, like come in and share and contribute.
Yeah, I remember your first residency auction, and it was sort of the first of its thing or whatever, and no one was really sure how it was going to go, and everything sold out. It was like such a great moment and everything. Like not even like early on is like a misrepresentation, but would have been, again, zooming out, like there must have been like, a bunch of like, great moments that have occurred throughout this whole thing. I know like a lot of your residency are very tight with one another, who were like in the same program together, which must have been like so awesome to see, like sort of come together. What would have been what's been sort of like on your highlight reel when you like look at all the things that have been done up until this point?
Wow, so many. Like honestly, doing this residency program has been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. I'm not even like gonna try and not sugarcoat it, because it's just incredible. The artists are always like saying like, oh, thank you so much. But I'm always like, thank you guys so much, because I literally learn so much from every single one of them, whether it's like positive or negative. It's always such an honor to literally like spend time with so many of these creators. I think if I have to say like some of the, let's say like top moments, for sure, seeing artists like grow from the moment that they start into the residency, which is I didn't mention it, but it's a 12-week program, up until the end of the residency, which ends with like an exhibition and an auction in Arium Spaces, is just like it's so beautiful, because you realize how much empowering people, artists, creators with knowledge and with the possibility to chat, talk, connect, whether it's with mentors, whether it's with me, whether it's with other artists of the group, can allow them to like grow and flourish. And it's so not tied to money, and it's so not tied to like selling out or like doing their all-time high. It's just strictly tied to personal relationships, connections, knowledge sharing, and creativity explosions. And I think like that's the best part, like seeing people go from having no idea of what a metaverse is to then building like a full exhibition in Arium spaces has been amazing. Seeing artists like, for example, Linda and Rose, who were part of the first residency, who connected so much that they started collaborating in so many different projects. Similarly, like Walt and Warag, similarly, many others. Like, honestly, there's so many like different things that have happened and spun out from the residency itself that I couldn't even like pinpoint one of them. But I think the best part is the flourishment and the growth of each of these creators. And really like the diversity, because I think like the way that we kind of also, let's say, like select or like vote on who the residents should be, which by the way is like a very, let's say, democratic vote, because all of the mentors vote. So it's about 30 people voting, is based on just two kind of like factors. One is diversity, and so where do these creators come from and what is their background? So we take on like practices from like poetry to painting to coding to like 3D to motion graphics to anything really, but also like what location, what geolocation these artists are from, and really trying to like foster these types of inclusion, and like trying to tap into maybe like places and countries around the world that might not have the same access or the same possibility of you know, Western, like European kind of like countries. And then the second one is how like much time you've been in the NFT space. So obviously like the residency is very geared towards onboarding and towards like kind of like teaching a little bit about what the NFT space is. So it's not necessarily like suited for people and like OG crypto artists who have been in the space for like 2-3+ years. And yeah, like I think from that, seeing what happens when you put together a group of people who all have, you know, common ethos and values and are all super creative, of course, is just incredible.
Oh, that is just so amazing to hear.
Right.
But zooming out a little bit from everything that you're doing, boots on the ground with vertical crypto art, and just looking at the crypto art space as a whole from a higher level, in a space that like for years and years and years for me personally has just been so inspiring and energizing. Still remains so, even more so actually probably today. I'm curious from your perspective, like what are some of the bright spots, even brighter spots on the horizon that you're looking out towards that you're super excited about? Or what are some of the like things that you feel percolating under the surface, ready to burst out this year that has you super, super excited just to be in the space generally?
So a few things that I'm super excited about are art exhibitions, fairs, in real life activations happening again. And this is something that we kind of like seen a little bit in December with Art Basel. But like this year is really, I think, something that I am very excited to be doing and to be like activating on with like various different like partners. And really like bringing and showcasing, you know, what's been happening the last 2 years of, you know, lockdowns, COVID, but also like in the NFT space of some of the amazing work that these creators and artists are doing. So this gets me super excited. I'm also like a big, as much as I love like the metaverse and I've been a big fan of and a big like advocate of metaverse native like exhibitions. I do think that there's definitely like a plus in, especially if we want to kind of like go into that, wider mission of vertical crypto art, of bridging a little bit these kind of like metaverse native creators, crypto artists, digital artists into the contemporary and traditional art world, in doing these sort of like exhibitions and being part of these activations around the world. So that is something that I personally also enjoy doing and like being a part of. So it gets me very excited. And I mean, I'm a bit in like a two-sided like thought about this. I know a lot of the brands, big brands are coming in, and I would love for this to happen in a way where we can like keep empowering creators and keep elevating like artists for the work that they're doing. So the way that I maybe utopistically would like for the space to move towards is finding and enabling these collaborations. Because, for example, like I know a lot of the artists that we work with would love to collaborate and work with some of the, highest kind of like top end fashion brands or brands like, let's say, quote unquote, blue chip like brands around the world. And I think there's a huge potential there to make that happen in a way that goes to benefit both. If we, keep in mind the general kind of like ideas and like infrastructure that the blockchain allows to happen. So royalties, on-chain technology, etc. So I hope, and I will try and like make that happen as much as I can, and with as much as the power that maybe like vertical crypto can have in that. So these are like two things that I'm excited about.
All that sounds very exciting. Micol, we love to do like sort of a shakedown at the end of like people's wallets and everything. And one of many things that I think we all respect about you is your like commitment to this ethos, and like you're just extremely consistent and like, get the whole like Web3, like decentralized mentality. I assume that in your crypto wallet, you have some art and really cool pieces from some of the people that you mentioned. I'd love to hear about some of your favorite stuff in your wallet, but to be completely honest, I would love to hear, like, you must have made like a couple missteps here and there. Like, did you mint a couple Yetis? Is there like any like, junk that managed to like find its way in there, or like just simply for the sake of just collecting a thing, or what will we see if we dug in there a little bit?
Oh my God, you'll see so much. So I think at the start, especially, this is so funny, but like, you remember when there was like the Rarible mania, kind of like the PFP, but like loads of projects were like dropping on Rarible, like the crypto sushis. I don't know if you remember those, but like there were like loads of like crypto sushi or like crypto donuts or like crypto mugs. I don't know, like all of that kind of thing. And for some reason, like I just kind of like started going deep into this like stupid rabbit hole of minting all of that stuff, and it's just been a bit like, what was I doing? I don't know. If I look back, I was like, why did I do that? Like kind of like led into the FOMO of I don't know what, to be honest. And yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that is still there. Obviously it hasn't gone anywhere, and I have no idea where these projects are. Probably nowhere to be seen, to be honest. Like the massive like rug pulls, and I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying this, but yeah, that's definitely something that hasn't gone down too well. But things that I am very happy to have in my wallet are like early pieces of Gary Cartledge, early pieces of Neurocolor, a few pieces of Max Osiris, Robness. Like these are all, artists that have been to me like super inspirational, and the people that have taught me what is crypto art. especially like back in like 2020 when, you know, they were like Max and Rob and Neurcolor and Gary, like they still are like at the cutting edge of really like questioning constantly and being extremely critical in a very, I think, positive way about blockchain and Web3 and NFTs. And so for me to have those like, and also like amazing artists, by the way, to have those like pieces, it's just, yeah, I'm super proud of them. And I'm kind of like known for not really selling anything. So like, yeah, it's wild. I think, especially if you look at my Tezos like collection, it's just so much art. But I'm very proud of it. I love looking at all the artwork that I've collected, and I just kind of make myself sell it. Yeah.
I love that. Shout out the Diamond Hands, Micol. Hey, shout out those artists.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Osiris, Robness, Neurocolor, which, by the way, I've heard rumors that they're the next X copy. Hard to disagree with that from the folks I heard it from. And then, of course, Gary Cartledge, like OGs, all in my collection too. Love their work and love them as human beings doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And big shout out to Neurocolor. Like, honestly,
yeah.
I think he's one of the most undervalued like artists in this. But I like his style is so iconic that it's just like wild. Like I have he knows this. Like, you know, every time that he releases a piece, I'm just like, you're insane. Like, it's amazing what you do.
I'll co-sign that. But before we go, I just want to make sure you let folks and remind folks of like all the important dates coming up on the Vertical Crypto Art calendar, and let folks know exactly where to follow you and Crypto Art on the socials.
Yeah, sure. So I guess coming up dates, we are doing an exhibition during Freeze in LA, which hasn't been announced yet, but will be soon. We are starting our new cohort of residency with 20 new incredible artists in around the first 2 weeks of Feb. And then, yeah, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and join our Discord. We share quite a lot of things on our Discord, and it's a really like, I think, healthy like Discord. Nobody really fights ever, and nobody really shills, and it's just like artists chatting and people like sharing interesting things that happen in the NFT space. So I usually get the comment that it's like, oh, it's so peaceful here. So it's that's a nice plug.
Amazing. That's an amazing feat for Discord.
Yeah.
You don't hear that ever. It's so peaceful in this Discord server.
I know.
Chuckle at that. Okay. Oh, but this has been such an awesome conversation, Micol. You really took us on your whole journey, and I'm so excited to have like been able to dive deep down into everything that vertical crypto art is and is going to be. I feel like the more people know about what you're doing and have done, it's just the more people and good vibes and all the good things that are going to come your way to help the whole movement. So just want to thank you so much for taking your time to jump on the Matthew and Rizzle show, and just keep on creating and doing your thing.
Thank you so much. It was great to chat. And yeah, you guys are amazing. Like, you're the OGs of the OGs. So super honorable to be here.
Yo, likewise. Thank you so much, Micol.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this week's episode. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Proof of Beauty. Proof of Beauty is an experimental digital experience studio. The blockchain is their canvas and the tokens are their brush. You can learn more about Proof of Beauty by checking out pob.studio. You can follow them on Twitter as well at PRRF Beauty. That's PRRF Beauty on Twitter, and pob.studio on their homepage to learn more about their projects like Hash, London, and Publico. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.